What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports and you're watching our college football channel. We continue here with our 2023 predictions. The Purdue Boilermakers are up next, and of course coming off of a Big Ten West championship. Had a really good year last year, but now it's a much different era here for Purdue. Again, new head coach, transfers left. They lose a lot of production in general, so it's going to be a totally different look here for Purdue. You see some of the other predictions here. FPI has them at 5.4 and 6.7. They do give them a slight chance to actually win the Big Ten West, despite a 5-4 or 5-7, 6-6 type record. Athlon has them at 5-7. The over/under is at 5.5, so it feels like it's going to be tough for this team to get to a bowl game this year. And when I look at Purdue, I look at Hudson Card coming in at quarterback. That's a really good transfer. That's a nice, solid veteran guy that can step in and help them out. They've got Devin Maccabee back at running back, but you just look at the weapons on offense. They don't really have a ton of weapons there. Offensive line, they've got some strengths and some weaknesses. Defense should be okay, but it's just a team that honestly I'm not too excited about going into this season. When you look at Jeff Brom and what he did at Purdue, he was able to get a lot out of a little. Purdue was consistently near the bottom of the Big Ten in recruiting. They did not have a ton of talent. So now you have a new coaching staff. You have to start all over, and you're starting with a roster that's going to be probably in the bottom 4 talent-wise in the Big Ten. And so that just, I think, makes for a struggle season. I just don't think Purdue is going to be great this year. So Purdue fans, you might want to look away from this video because it's not going to be pretty. And again, these other predictions also have them not even making it to a bowl game. But let's get into it. This is the schedule. You look at that non-conference schedule. That's a difficult schedule. Fresno State, Virginia Tech, and Syracuse. You could say that those are all going to be games that Purdue could possibly lose. And obviously, they could lose every game in the conference. This team could go 0-12. That's not my prediction, but I'm just saying with this schedule, they could go 0-12 or 1-11. It could be a complete disaster for Purdue this year. And again, nothing against Purdue. It is what it is. These are my feelings about this team. I just don't think they're going to be great. But you look at the first game here against Fresno State, going to be one of the better Group of 5 teams. They always are. But talent-wise, are they going to have a talent advantage on Purdue, even though Purdue is near the bottom of the Big Ten, like I said, in talent? I don't think so. I think Purdue still has enough to take care of Fresno State. Probably a close game, though. I think this will be, it could even be a one-score, down-to-the-wire type game, but I do think Purdue is able to get a win there against Fresno State. Then they get Virginia Tech on September the 9th, and this is one that I've really gone back and forth with. Virginia Tech, Purdue, I think the rosters are pretty even. Virginia Tech really underperformed last year. They were not very good. Going into this year, not really high expectations for them, but I think they've got enough pieces coming back to where they're going to be improved. And that's a tough place to play. If the fans are fired up for the game, it's a really tough place to play. And because of that, I do think Virginia Tech is able to get this win. On a neutral field, I probably would take Purdue, because I was very close actually to taking Purdue in this game. But at Virginia Tech, I'm going to go with the Hokies. I think they get that win there. And then they'll follow that up with Syracuse on September the 16th. It was a great game last year. Syracuse is another team that I'm not super high on. I just don't think they're going to be great this year. Purdue gets them at home, kind of a revenge game for them. I do think Purdue is able to find a way to get this done. So I think they beat Syracuse and they start off 2-1. I do think that they probably do start 2-1. It wouldn't have shocked me if they were to get upset by Fresno State and then beat Virginia Tech, or maybe lose to Syracuse again and beat Virginia Tech. I think either way, it is probably a 2-1 start, maybe 1-2 there in the non-conference. Again, these are all games they could potentially lose. I don't think they lose all 3 of them, but yeah, 1-2, 2-1. That's probably the start for them, and then they get into Big Ten conference play. They'll get Wisconsin on September the 23rd at home. This is just going to be a much better Wisconsin team, in my opinion. I think they're going to be much better than Purdue. I just don't see Purdue competing in this game. I think Wisconsin, like I said, talked about this all off season. I do think this is going to be the best team in the Big Ten West. I think adding in that element of a passing spread type attack with the run game and offensive line that they already have in place and the experience coming back on defense, yeah, Wisconsin's going to be really good. And I don't see Purdue really hanging around in this game. So I've got a loss there. Then you get Illinois on September 30th, probably a much closer game. Illinois is going to want to run the football. Purdue's going to, honestly, I don't know what Purdue's going to do. I don't know what this team is going to look like. But Illinois, I think they've established things with Brett Bielema. They know what they're doing. They're going to have, their formula and everything. So I do think that is going to be a big advantage for Illinois. I think the Illini get this win, and Purdue drops to 2-3. Then they'll go on the road at Iowa. Tough place to play. They have to go to Virginia Tech and Iowa and Nebraska and Michigan. Talk about 4 tough places to play. But yeah, on the road at Iowa, this is going to be a really good defense. I think Purdue struggles to score in this game, and I think Iowa playing at home does get this win. So I've got Purdue dropping to 2-4 at this point. Then they get Ohio State on October the 14th. We've seen Purdue kind of come out of nowhere and beat Ohio State in the past at home. It has happened. I don't think it's going to happen this year, though. I think the Buckeyes, just too much talent, too much offense. Give me Ohio State here. And then they'll play Nebraska on the road on October 28th. They get a bye week before this game. This is one that Purdue really needs to win. I mean, this is a huge game for them, an opportunity to maybe save their season. But this is, again, another tough place to play. Nebraska team, and I think everyone would agree they have a more talented roster, and they've got a more proven, established head coach. I think Jeff Sims is going to be a better quarterback. They're going to have the advantage there. And again, home field advantage. So Nebraska takes this one. I think Purdue loses again. Then they'll play on the road at Michigan November 4th. No reason to pick Purdue here. I think this is a blowout, complete dominance by Michigan. I think they lose that one as well. Then they get Minnesota on November 11th. Minnesota, they've established their culture there, but they're not going to be a super talented team. So I don't think there's a huge advantage for them in terms of talent. And this is a Purdue team that should get better. I mean, after going through that stretch of Iowa, Ohio State, Nebraska, Michigan, and even before that, Illinois, I mean, the whole schedule, these games should make them better, and they're going to be desperate. And a desperate team here is a team you don't want to play late in the season. Maybe Minnesota's right there in the race in the Big Ten West. Pressure on the Gophers. I think Purdue finds a way to pull off this upset, and they get a big, big win here. Not going to get them to a bowl game, obviously, with already 7 losses, but still enough to feel a little bit better about the season. But then they get Northwestern the next week on November 18th. This should be a pretty even matchup. Northwestern, though, playing at home. Maybe they're desperate here as well. This is a toss-up game. I mean, flip a coin. I'm going with Northwestern because they have home field advantage. And again, you could easily flip those games. Maybe they lose to Minnesota and beat Northwestern. I could see that happening as well. And then they close things out with Indiana. Pretty even matchup. Again, both teams probably not going to be in contention for a bowl game. But Purdue playing at home, like I said, I think they get better as the season goes with all the new faces, the new coaching staff and everything. And they find a way to get this win to close things out. So 4-8 is my record. At one point I had them beating Virginia Tech, had them at 5-7. But again, when you look at this schedule, I just don't think they can get to 5-7. I think 4-8 is going to be the record. I think this team finishes near the bottom of the Big Ten West, maybe at the bottom of the Big Ten West, depending on what happens with, say, Nebraska, Northwestern, some of these other teams. But yeah, that's my prediction for Purdue. I think they do fall off a lot from where they were last year, and I think it's a rough season for them. What do you agree, or do you think I'm out of my mind? Do you think Purdue's going to be right back in the thick of things in the Big Ten West? Give me your predictions, your thoughts on Purdue down in the comments below.